Hi, everyone. Welcome to this CITL Hot Take. I'm Samantha Goldman, a graduate research assistant for CITL, and I'm joined today by Dr. Sean Smith, a co-PI on CITL and also the PI for Project VOISS.
Well, folks, in an earlier hot take, we shared a little bit about the VOISS app, and I hope you download it and use it. It's free to use, and hopefully it gives you an opportunity to explore. As a skinny for those that didn't see that, it is an app to help with social emotional development, social skill development for students across the spectrum, individual learning disabilities, and actually any middle schooler. We've used it with hundreds, if not thousands, of middle schoolers across the country, identify with a disability or not. But along with that, to support the educator has been both pre-service and general education teacher has been VOISS Advisor. And VOISS Advisor has a number of different tools that are trying to help teachers understand how to integrate not only the app, but also support the generalization into the classroom of social emotional development. Now, to begin with, I want you to understand that we've organized things under 10 domains, and the domains were identified, first of all, through the literature, through diagnostics, through experts, the field, etc. And we came up with these 10 domains. So the scenarios that follow, there's 140 scenarios addressing 183 skills. They're all organized under these areas. And so the advisor mimics these areas. So for example, to begin with, our efforts is to generalize. And so that's what the advisor is seeking to do. The VOISS gives the app to the students for knowledge and skill development. An advisor gives us, the educator, the pre-service educator, the knowledge and skills to be able to facilitate generalization. So to begin with, we need to understand how to get things started in the use of those domains. And so we created a questionnaire or a what we call a oh my goodness, it used to be called a screener, and I am blanking on what we call it. My apologies. Oh my goodness. But from that, what we've done is we've actually organized. So for example, under this domain, self-awareness and advocacy, we asked 5 specific area questions about whether or not the student has enough knowledge, we don't have enough knowledge, demonstrates it, seldom demonstrates it, or all the way down to the fact that, yeah, not only can they talk about, but they can do it. And that allows the teacher or the pre-service teacher to understand, where would you begin using this technology? So for example, the student never demonstrates can identify own emotion levels. But in this instance, they're very competent in the ability to advocate for self and others. And so the individual student getting into the VOISS app would concentrate on scenarios associated with these tasks and not this 5th one. And so this tool is allowing the individual the inventory, for goodness sake. The inventory allows for the educator to determine where the student starts. So that's the first step in the VOISS Advisor, is to offer an inventory to allow the teacher, pre-service teacher and service teacher, to determine where to begin in social skill interventions. Now, I should offer a caveat here, is we created this inventory, we have validity and reliability testing in it, and we're finding educators are actually using this separate from the VOISS technology. They're using this as a tool to determine where to begin in their overall interventions, technology or non-technology based, for social emotional development. So it's kind of interesting in terms of the overall use. And of course, from that, they'll be rated in terms of what to start with, what to not start with, and the colors have a different coding to it. And from there, the student gets in and starts to use, well, then we have a progress monitoring tool on the other end, and that's sitting in advisor as well. So when the student signs in, everything they do and everything they click on, where they go, how long it takes them to respond, the number of times they click on something, all that's captured and shared so that the educator, be it the pre-service or teacher educator, can better understand where the needs are for that student to go within the VOISS application. And so it shows whether or not they've gained competency and knowledge and skills, whether or not they need some more practice, whether or not, that scenario is not going to do enough. We need to do something face-to-face as well in the real world to support that overall growth. So the progress monitoring offers a variety of visuals to illustrate that. Now, we also have aligned, for those trying to figure out, well, what are the standards and how does the VOISS app align with those standards so we can use the technology with the standards we're trying to address? Well, we do a crosswalk. So we've done that across the national standards, so folks can do a crosswalk between the standard, what they're trying to teach, and where VOISS would fall in. We've also, though, really reinforced that generalization, a concept a lot of us as educators particularly pre-service educators, not appreciating what it means to not only develop knowledge and skill, but also seek generalization. So the tool itself focuses on knowledge and skills, but how do we as educators seek that generalization into the real classroom? So what we've done is, first of all, we've identified each of the 10 domains I mentioned earlier, and we've given context to them. We created students, and these students lead to scenarios to contextualize, what does this look like? What does this domain look like in the classroom? And it could be through Dylan representing that. It could be through Jolene representing that. It could be through Archie representing that. And we tried to basically give the teacher a student to be able to say, oh yeah, I've got a student like that in my classroom. Oh, that's what the student's doing. Yeah, yes, this is an area that I need to concentrate on. And then with that, what we identified is we've crosswalked the scenario to evidence-based practices. And these are practices that are non-technology based per se. Some are technology, most are not. So for example, narratives, direct instruction, role-playing can be done without technology. Video modeling can be done with, but we've given an overview. We've given an overview of what they are. We've given step-by-step instructions of how to utilize them. We've given alignment to how to facilitate generalization. And with that, as I mentioned, standard-based alignment, but we've also connected to IEP goals. So a teacher trying to say, well, I'm trying to address this standard, but more importantly, this goal and benchmark. Well, here's a goal and benchmark affiliated with those 10 domains, affiliated with those scenarios, but then do a crosswalk between, this is a goal and benchmark or similar to what I'm trying to address. Oh, this is this scenario that would address that. Great, thanks for that crosswalk. And now I can begin to implement it. So I can do it through a standard, or I can do it through an IEP goal. So it helps the educator who may be unfamiliar with this area to do that bit of a crosswalk to better understand to use the technology, how to use the technology, and hopefully to implement the technology.
So on the,
go ahead.
Sorry. So on the voice end, the student is immersed in the scenario versus
the student, the K-12 student is immersed in the scenario, correct?
On the advisor, though, it sounds like you have scenarios set up so that an educator could go in and learn about different like fictitious students and think about how it relates to their classroom and learn strategies to then employ with their students. Is that correct?
Right. And we don't use them. If I use the word scenario, I shouldn't have. It's more classroom stories. So we're trying to give situations. So each student, as you're seeing here, this is Dylan's lesson plans. Dylan would be a student with a disability with the need for social skill development, particularly in the area, I can't recall what area that domain is for her. And what we've tried to do is illustrate through a story of Dylan, what the challenge would look like, how to use voice app, and more importantly is how to then generalize what she learned in the voice app into the regular setting, being like the real setting. So yes.
Sounds like a really great tool, not only for our in-service educators trying to better the humans in their classroom, but to help our pre-service educators and our teacher educator faculty to have those conversations around social skills and to have those conversations around how do you support students that are experiencing these challenges.
Yeah, I think it's a good illustration of kind of that our plan and design was for the pre-service, but the reality is that, and of course we did utilize the framework, Universal Design for Learning framework, in a lot of our development here, but in so doing, because it is associated with a curriculum per se, it could be utilized by the teacher educator to actually explore and understand issues related to social competence, evidence-based practices, ways to assess with the inventory, ways to collect data, a host of things, as well as, of course, the pre-service teacher education students to learn more about social skill development, knowledge and skill development, and also generalization. So yes. And lesson plans are one of them, by the way. Each lesson plan shares not only the voice app, but then what you would want to use with an evidence-based practice to apply this for generalization skills into the classroom, be it special or general education classroom. So the hope and goal here is the student has that knowledge and skill, but they need further guidance and practice to generalize, and that's where these lesson plans come in to help facilitate that. So the advisor has a number of different components to it, and we have a number of different ways to enter. I can enter using the inventory to determine with the student and then follow progress monitoring, which that data then aligns to generalization practices. I can go in as, hey, I'm a general education teacher. How would I begin to use the advisor? And you're like, well, Sean, you need to have, I'm a teacher education faculty member. And you're correct. We don't have that as a role, but we need to add that as a role because, of course, they could enter it in a different way as well. Now, do these does this mean that they're limited to the tools within the advisor or limited to the content? No. It's just that we tend to think of, depending upon our role, certain areas, and that's where we try to direct those areas and what those tools might be based on those stakeholders. So that, in a nutshell, is the advisor. We've written about it. We've published about it. We have some pretty good research about it. And we also are always looking for people to participate and to better understand not only the tool, but also the advisor, voice itself, or the tool. And so teacher educators interested more in how to adapt this and integrate it into their practices to support overall development, feel free to reach out to us. But otherwise, hopefully that connected a few dots.
Super cool. I'm really excited to use that when we talk about social skills with my pre-service teachers.
Great.
Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Is that what you wanted?
Perfect.